do meme coins hurt the price of Pulsechain, or do meme coins bring intrinsic value and actually pump the price of Pulsechain? And whenever I talk to my friends, for example, or if I mention it on Twitter Spaces, the people that are in speculative instruments like a Tropa, they always say, yeah, of course, I'm doing all of that so I have more Pulsechain. I'm doing all of that so I can have more hex later, and so on and so on. And this is exactly my point. I believe all of those meme coins, all of those speculative things that we are gambling on are, first of all, bringing intrinsic value because it makes the transactions goes high. We burn Pulsechain through that, right? If it's on Pulsex, we also burn Pulsex token by doing that. And then for me, the most important thing is that the value of the liquidity pool of those meme coins goes higher, and now people are able to extract value here from the system. And that's why I'm saying meme coins actually pump Pulsechain.
Kind of drama going on, a lot of people going for a Tropa and PDI or whatever it is. I haven't really been following it, but as long as there's volume, as long as there's creating some network effect to push that volume up so that our chain becomes more known and recognized, that's cool with me.
This is exactly what is happening right now. If you look at Dex Screener, the first 3 pages are all just shiny symbols, all just contracts made of the Tropa's smart contract, and this is bringing the transactions. And again, like, this is burning Pulsechain because we have transactions. It is going on Pulsex, so we are also buying and burning Pulsex. It is really whole for the whole ecosystem. And then a nice side effect is that the speculators that bought PDI cheap, that bought a Tropa cheap, now they're maybe cashing out. At least they're making gains, right? It's very positive for them. And that's why I asked the question earlier, what are you going to do with your gains in PDI when you're a PDI millionaire? Well, I personally would probably buy some hex. I would probably buy the asset that is down in the ratio. And right now what I see, for example, is Pulsex is down a lot in the ratio to Pulsechain, right? So I see opportunities there. And where would I take the money from? The coins where I did a 10x, from all those high risk coins. Then that's where I would then take the money to buy Pulsex, just as a thought experiment here.
Until we see those monthly green dildos going up for Pulsechain, Pulsex, etc. You've got like an army of influencers. It's like having 143 different news networks that are just going to go nuts about it. And then we'll probably have more coming into the bull run. Yeah, man. I think we'll just get through the bear, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the future, man.
And it's just nice to see that, the Pulse and Hex light are still shining through these dark red candle times. But they'll be over soon. This is there's no growth in comfort, right? So we have to take a little bit of the pain before we get to the gain. And I don't think we should be too worried about the SEC thing with Richard. He's the man to handle it. And it's wild to me how people are still kind of looking at Hex like a scam, because it has proven time and time again that it has no downtime and it's pretty much flawless DeFi.
When it comes to the SEC thing, like, I think it's almost rather positive for Hex. Like, everybody is talking about Hex now. We have Altcoin Daily. We have all the biggest influencers talking about how Hex is a scam. The SEC is going after Richard Hart, right? Brings promotion. It brings some kind of attention. And like I said earlier, cryptocurrency is an attention economy. As more attention you have, as more the price will go up. Why is that? Because the only thing that matters is buying and selling. Therefore, I'm saying the SEC thing does not handicap us in the next bull run to make a new all-time high. It's actually the opposite. Like I said, I think it brings the attention. And then you were saying how Hex was always seen as a scam, and even today people think it's a scam. And Richard Hart made a statement one day. He basically said, well, how else will you take over the world and change the financial market? It has to be a scam that takes over. Like, somehow the most entertaining outcome is the most realistic. And if it was the finished perfect product, corporate, top-down approach, then I think it would have not worked as well. Look, we were hated by all the influencers. We were not listed anywhere, and still Hex did 10,000x. Why? Because this is true DeFi. We don't need any of that. All we need is the community, and the actions of the community speak louder than anything, louder than any listing or louder than any endorsement and so on. It's really that we need the Hexican soldiers to be on the ground and do their jobs. And that's what I think the Hexican community does better than any other community. And we see it in the metrics, right? We see it in the engagement and so on.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. And it's obviously we're going against some of the biggest players known in the economic space, right? You said it best. It's a scam that needs to take over. And it is because we are ruled by a scam. The Federal Reserve, the dollar, any sort of government-backed currency is always destined to fail.
And then they're going to pump our backs. So let them try. But that's why the government's so scared of Richard Hart and Pulsechain. They might pretend like they're not. Like it seems like, oh, they're just throwing a lawsuit out there. They're scared, man. This is the only true DeFi in crypto. All this other wannabe DeFi is garbage. I remember when Aave came out, I was looking at it like, it's not fucking DeFi. They need to quit calling everything DeFi. And then I found Richard Hart, and we actually have real DeFi. I mean, there is no middleman. They are going to attack the shit out of Pulsechain. It just makes me more bullish on it. Anything the government is so against, I'm so for. You know, everybody should be in there.
Hell yeah. I have more of a multi-chain mindset, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
I'm not a maxi by any means, but I do really like Pulsechain more than anything else. That's just me. I mean, I'm completely off of Ethereum. Besides my hex stakes that are staked. Yep, I got off Ethereum as soon as Pulsechain went live. Besides those hex stakes, I'll let right out. There's no reason to even go on Ethereum. I haven't touched that shit in months. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm the same. I pretty much completely stopped using Ethereum. I barely use it anymore.
The cream of the crop will rise to the top at the end of the day, and I truly believe in that.
I just wish more people understood how these markets run. And you know, people freak out when they see red candles. I don't like if you get out of that mindset and you actually.
I like red candles.
Yeah, I love red candles. Exactly. That's how I made money last bull run. During the bear, is trying to scoop up what I could afford back then, and it worked out pretty fucking good. I mean, people get all freaked out. I love when they say, "Oh, it's dead. It's down 30% in crypto." You fucking kidding me? You think something's dead because it's down 30% and you saw a few big red candles? That's exciting to me.
Here's the thing that we can use as knowledge for the future for more growth in the community is when we get to the bull run and we're really euphoric and shit, we need to be able to keep a level head and as new people are entering who have never been into crypto, just kind of give them the real scenario and be like, look, this is where we're at, this is how long we were down for, this is how high up we are. Crypto tends to dip 80 to 90%. This is what this does. This is the education. Give them the resources, right? Provide them the solution to their problems in life and let them figure it out, because you can lead a horse to water kind of situation. But just changing our because we know, right? If you sat here and you went through a euphoric bull run and then you experienced this depressing bear, you actually understand the emotion, the psychology, and everything that you see. You see it on the timeline. You see it everywhere. You see it in the price action. And so that we have this now that we can provide that for people, because you don't want people to feel the way you do if you got really bought the top and you think you could have got more economic energy into the system if you would have just waited and been a little bit more patient. And I'm not saying not lead anyone to it, but just the way that we kind of carry it, and because we're gonna go insanely euphoric, ridiculously high on fucking cloud nine when we come bull cycle, because we all believed, we all held on this dip, we all bought more and DCA'd, and then there's gonna be people again in the next cycle that don't know anything and they come in by the top. And it's just, I think, to prevent toxicity and anger and people, because people lack accountability and critical thinking for themselves, we could take this whole time and this whole process that we learned from launching a L1 in a bear market and stuff and apply it to people in the future and uplift them better so they have a better experience through crypto and stuff in general. I don't know. I'm just trying to keep it real on a sense of because we know it's really going to go nuclear, and this shit goes higher than you can expect and lower than you can ever expect at the same time. So it's just this whole year has been, hopefully for everybody, especially myself, has been a knowledge based year. This has been a year to really explore and understand yourself as well, and how all this stuff ties into your being, because we're mental, physical, and spiritual beings, whatever you believe in. We're all of these things and they all apply. And that's why people get emotional on the chart, because they're over invested, or they don't have their own critical belief, and they pick out something that somebody else told them. And I think this has just been a great time for us to learn how to educate people properly in a way and smart.
Remember that stream that Richard Hart did a long time ago about, someone was asking him, would you rather launch in a bull or a bear? And everybody was rumoring, they were like, oh, he's going to wait for the bull to launch, which is bullshit. We all know that now. But he said, no, I would rather launch in a bear, and give or take about 52 weeks to wash out all the paper hands. And, I forget the term he used in the video, but he's like, all the bullshit. 52 weeks. I mean, right. Guy's smart, man. I mean, he knew what he was saying back then. And yeah, he's not speaking much on his platforms, but he said a lot before he stopped streaming. Basically said everything that's happening now. It's not a big mystery. So I hate to say that. I get what you're saying, but there are always going to be people who think they're going to flip some $100 purchase of some coins into $1 million. I don't, that's legacy Bitcoin bullshit where people think I'm going to become a billionaire off of a small amount of money. And that's the problem. Those people are the ones you see crying all over social media.
You gotta go all in. Big
Yeah.
Yeah,
home.
100%. I agree. I hear you.
No, I'm just saying there's going to always be those people that you can't really help. They're going to cry, kick and moan, and they're going to exit crypto. But then some people are going to fall in behind them who are smart enough to buy opportunity instead of crying when they bought the top. But you're right, though. Education, you got to try to educate people. Hopefully everybody here holds onto their bags and they do take profit. That's the other problem I see. You see some hex maxis that are like, I'm holding for 15 years. I'm never going to take profit. Like, I hate to say it. That's the dumbest advice I've ever heard in my life. Everybody's here to make money. Let's not pretend. I'm going to hold on to some, of course, or I'm going to move all into stable and wait for the market to reset. But telling people not to take profit, who knows? You know, some people are in their 50s, 60s.
Well, they're not gonna be able to,
They're
right?
not going to be able to. Exactly. So I think that's bad advice. I think you should always take profit eventually when this market comes back. Take profit where you can. I mean, the chart's going to be just fine. Hex, Pulse, and Pulsex, they're going to be just fine if people are taking profit. That's the whole point, because you're going to have new investors, especially on a bull run. People love buying green candles. So it's not like you're dumping on their head. They might still get in at a good entry point, and you got out at a good entry point, but don't like hesitate to take some profit here or there. That's why we're here. I don't like fiat money, so I take profit and put it in the dirt, buy land, buy something, tangible asset. That's my advice. I wouldn't hold it in a bank account. Do something. Don't just keep everything in crypto. You're going to be down over 100% again in the next run if you hold on too long. I'm not saying dump your whole bags as soon as we get some green candles. I'm not saying that either. It's hard to fucking call the top, but you never know when the market's going to turn,
I think it's amazing that the mindset of the maximalism is shifting slowly. We're coming to realizations that meme coins pump Pulsechain. This is how it always has been, but now I have the feeling people wake up more and more and more and realize, well, for the ecosystem it's not good to be a maximalist, and also for the personal portfolio it's not the best to be a maximalist. I think we should go away from passively earning income and to actively managing the portfolio. I think, at least for me, this has brought me the most gains in the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely, man.
We should all really work on talking more about that too, like strategies for onboarding people from other chains.
Dude,
and setting up spaces for that.
Rich is probably pissed off sitting back watching us. He's like, these guys are just fucking trading the coins between themselves. These guys aren't doing shit to get people from Binance over here.
Dude, yeah. We definitely should be doing that more, because dude, I swear once this pump stagnates on the core coins and it's like people start to notice that Pulse and Pulsex and Hex aren't, like, if they don't keep continuing this for maybe even tonight, like they're gonna just shift right back into the other coins, and then Teddy and all that shit's gonna start well, first of all, the case with Richard Hart is coming up in is the first one in November, or is there something before the November?
That is my understanding as well.
Okay. Do you know, if it could somehow be, finished that day, or is that just, his lawyers talk to somebody, and it's, just kind of, do you know much more about how that might go, or what kind of, if that could be resolved somehow in the first meeting or something?
So I don't know much about the specifics. However, we did talk to our legal team, obviously, because we're closely related in many fashion, a couple of different ways with what's going on. But the thing that's interesting about this is there is a fraud label attached to this case as well, a securities fraud or a wire fraud label attached to that as well. But to make that actually possible, they have to classify Hex as a security first. And for some of the research that we've done and some of our legal opinion that we're receiving, this could be a very difficult challenge to actually prove that in a court of law. Now, however, if it does go to a trial and you're this is not my opinion. This was explained to me by our legal counsel, who is it's an SEC legal counsel, and one of our attorneys is Coy Garrison, who co-sponsored the Safe Harbor Act with Hester Peirce back in 2020, I believe. So he was actually her attorney. So they're real tied into all this, and they know what they're talking about. But if it, at all costs, he wants to avoid going to a jury trial, because what they're going to see and how the prosecution is going to make it seem is that here is a founder who collected billions, and they don't know that 600 or whatever 300 million of that was in Hex that just stayed in there, and there's 300 million ish DAI still sitting there, or 600 million, whatever the number is, of DAI still sitting there in a smart contract or in a wallet that hasn't moved. And how Richard made all of his money before, they're not going to see all that. What they're going to see is this flamboyant billionaire out there flaunting,
twerking,
and doing all these other crazy things, which could raise some issues. However, at the end of all of it, they're going to have to try and prove that Hex is a security or Pulsechain is a security, and it's not. So that's going to be a very difficult challenge. And I think that personally, this is my personal opinion again, I think it is bullish for the community. And I know Richard is laying low now, but think about this. If you had a horse in the race to fight on your side with the powers that be, who better than Richard Hart to be up there speaking about not only his assets, but blockchain and cryptocurrency and freedom than Richard Hart, you know?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say just two things that, like, man, I just wish like they could go through and see all his tweets about blockchain, and just like, you know, it's unfortunate that like a lot of times humans like pay attention to the bad and it sticks out in their mind more than the good. But like I feel like 99.9% of what Richard's said or done in his hundreds of streams and tweets or thousands, they're like he's a good guy and like he wants to make the world a better place, and did the whole, you know, like fundraising for the Sins Foundation. He encourages like people not to like trade or gamble or play video games too much or drink a lot, or like do hard drugs and stuff. But like, you know, and he's just like, it's all about people at the end of the day, and curing cancer and diseases. And like, yeah, he tried some outrage marketing, but again, he was mining Bitcoin, you know, at 50 cents, you know, was like $1. And I think he was already rich and he had no reason. And I don't think he took anybody's money. So I know that's one part of the case. And I also don't think Hex or PLS is going to be found, or PLSX is going to be found as a security. That's just my opinion. And like, you know, hopefully some precedents are set with Coinbase or XRP, or some precedents are set where we've got some wins in the crypto. It kind of looks like we've got some small, like half wins maybe. So maybe some precedents will be set before he even has that case, and it'll make it even easier to win. But at the end of the day, it might have just been a buy the dip opportunity for all of us and the believers. I hope it turns out that way. And I was just going to say on one other note is in the messages were on this spaces on the post. Hodlnomics had written that we anticipate there will be liquidity incentives at the right time to help support the peg. Speculation, of course, but there are many ways to support the price that we currently don't know how it will play out. I think that, like, you know, I think Richard would have said something by now, like, if he thought this was a scam, because it's his chain. And so I think his silence is still powerful on this. So, like, you know, I know he's probably maybe, I don't know if it's a gag order, but like, where he just doesn't want to, you know, say anything about price, like affecting price or anything. But I think if there was like an actual scam, he would probably say something. So I think that like there's even a chance that maybe, you know, if this is dropped and all that, and he feels like he can speak more or stream again, he might give some hints at like trying to help move this along faster, as we know that the more economic power put in, the faster it'll go. And the people, you know, that might, like, not financial advice, but that believed and maybe held some PDI might have gotten there a little bit earlier. And it, like, it's possible, I'm just speculating, that he could say something to hint at it, you know, when this is all said and done, to kind of try and make it peg. Or maybe this 414 wallet, this dev will take care of that and give us some hints. But
well, here's the beautiful thing about this. Even if Richard says, hey, I'm done, and kind of rides off into the sunset, or, you know, God forbid something happens to him, we're not stopping. This isn't over. It's not relying upon Richard Hart anymore. You know, we all have, not only in the community too, not only have money, a lot of money invested into their infrastructure, but into the assets, but also the time, the blood, the sweat, the tears that we've all been through the past years, you know, ever since the beginning of the Hex days. And we're not stopping. I know for a fact that there's a lot of devs in that chat that aren't stopping. So with or without Richard Hart, the SEC cannot shut Pulsechain down, because they can't shut the internet down. It's not a US-based company. There's no jurisdiction over the blockchain. So unless they're going to shut down the internet or go crazy and trying to like geo-block IPs, but there's always ways around that. You know, like we are not, you know, us personally, but we as a collective group in crypto are a speedboat in the ocean, and the SEC is a big old freight liner. So it's not like they can stop it, even if they wanted to. And that's what continues to make me so bullish on the ecosystem. And yeah, people might talk shit about meme coins or reflection tokens or whatever, but there's a place for everything. As long as people are doing the right thing and they're creating the asset and they're speaking the truth about it and saying that, hey, this is what it does, this is what it's supposed to do, and they don't do anything ultimately shady and try to rug it. And it's freedom. It's freedom to interact with whatever you want to interact with, and that's what Pulsechain is. Pulsechain is by the people for the people, and it's not going to stop. So it doesn't matter what the SEC actually rules. It does matter for Richard, and just on a human level, man to man, I hope and I wish the big guy well, and I hope he gets through this and he's not in any kind of danger, where his freedom is in any kind of danger, because at the end of the day, I believe he was trying to do the right thing. And yeah, some of his tactics are a little weird, and as a grown man, just a little set in my ways. Do I agree with buying $9,000 pajamas? No, but that's my personal opinion. But I don't think he did anything unethical or wrong.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. I don't think honestly, I really don't think that he did any of that as the person that he actually is. I think that he did that just to light, a fire under people's asses and make people upset, which he did a really good job of. Because, before that, he always spoke about, how he would write these books and try to get them away and try to teach people things, and nobody would really listen, right? But then people started to listen when he started to throw around all that money. But Don, thanks for sharing all that. Honestly, like, you're pretty much spot on with your ideas there about where we're going and all that. I think that the court case that's coming up in November, from what I read, it's just a phone call. Actually, I don't think anybody has to be physically in court. From what I was hearing, so I don't think. Who knows? Maybe I really think that SEC's, they got to be looking at Richard's Twitter. If they're not, like, they're obviously freaking so stupid. If they do see it, I would think that they'd be like, oh shit, this guy really knows his stuff. He's like basically proving his case on Twitter in front of the whole general public. I would think that they would possibly like think about retracing their steps a bit. And, if not, then, Gary Gensler's definitely going to lose his job if they lose again.
Exactly.